what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I am driving a 2001 Toyota WiLL VS. Up front is a 1.8 liter inline 4 and down below is a 4-speed automatic transmission. Now I am super excited to be driving this Toyota WiLL for two reasons. First of all, we didn't get it here in the United States. This is kind of a weird, obscure version of a Corolla, kind of. Obviously originally sold in Japan, but the second reason is the fact that this car only became legal here in the United States last July. So like a month before posting this video. And so today I get to show you one of the first Toyota WiLLs of this generation in the United States. But if you'd like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out and I come out to you. And if you'd like to see all my videos weeks or sometimes months in advance, you can head on over to my Patreon for only $5 a month. Last but not least, huge thank you to the import guys here in Northern Washington for letting me borrow their Toyota WiLL. More on them towards the end of the video, but if you'd like to browse their inventory, you can do so down in the description below. But let's get back to that 1.8 liter inline 4 under the hood. Well, it is the 1ZZ FE. And we did get it here in the United States. However, we got the one that was manufactured in the US, and Japan got their own 1ZZ that was manufactured in Japan. The only major difference is that the valves are actually a little bit bigger on the Japanese spec 1ZZ, but that's pretty much it. It's a pretty standard run-of-the-mill 1.8 liter that you'll see in a lot of other Toyota products, either JDM or USDM. Now, like I said, paired to it is a 4-speed automatic transmission. It's doing a fine job. It's shifting, and this is sort of getting close to the end of the era where Toyota actually started switching to using CVTs, of which I don't particularly like. So it's nice to see that this actually has a tried and true 4-speed in it. However, you could also find them in 6-speed manual. Last but not least about the Toyota WiLL, of course it is front wheel drive because it is built on the MC platform, which was accompanied by the RAV4, the Prius, the Corolla, and the Caldina. How does it feel to drive the Toyota WiLL? It drives impeccably fine. You ever driven a Corolla? Drives like that. You ever driven an early Prius? Drives like that. It's a very boring and uninteresting driving experience. However, if you do want to get something that's JDM, this is a good option because it's not going to feel super foreign while looking and, well, quite frankly, being super foreign. So you're going to be able to get used to it really easy. If you've ever driven any Corolla of any generation, you're going to feel right at home in this car, and it's not going to be too abstract for you to wrap your head around like some other JDM vehicles are. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 4 gauges. So off to the left is a tachometer, in the center is a speedometer, and off to the right is the coolant temperature and fuel. We also get a digital odometer, and this is noticeably a lot higher tech than most JDM cars that I drive in the States, because now we're starting to get cars from the 2000s. You start to see some familiar faces and some familiar styles. On the steering wheel, we don't have anything. We don't even have a Toyota badge, and you'll be hard-pressed to find a Toyota badge on this car at all, but even on the steering wheel. And moving out of the door, we have the latch to get in and out, lock and unlock, and power windows. Moving into the center, we do have an aftermarket Panasonic navigation that is completely lost. It has no idea where we are. A little openable cubby as well, so the center gets its own openable cubby. And then we have a digital clock, outside temperature, and our climate controls. I love how concise these are. Very, very small, out of the way, simple, easy to use, and I love how straightforward they are. We do have an aftermarket Kenwood radio. We have a cigarette lighter and ashtray down below that, and then we have the shifter. The shifter is cool and interesting. It's funky looking, and again, you're not going to feel like you're in a Corolla, or at least visually this isn't going to look like you're in a Corolla. It's going to drive like one, for sure, without a doubt, but visually this is all very different than what we were getting here in the States. But traditional shifter other than that. Moving into the center, I love this sort of brushed aluminum look. It's not actual brushed aluminum, but it looks like it. I love the swoopiness and the center cabinet. I guess you could consider this a cup holder. It's not really, so it fails a big friggin' bottle test, but that's just how these cars go. And then we have the handbrake, a center console, and the seats. The seats are cloth. They're nothing really to write home about or interesting, but they've been comfortable enough. And again, you know, based on this car's siblings, it's right in line with all of those vehicles. Caldina, Prius, RAV4, Corolla, and there are more on this platform. I just forgot them. However, speaking of seats, this is a 4-door, so let's go do a back seat review. All right, getting in the back of the Toyota WiLL, and much as the name suggests, we have to ask the question, will I fit? And I do. I actually do fit pretty well. My head is not hitting the ceiling. 5'11", not a small guy. My knees are coming very close, and they touch the seat occasionally. But again, for a Japanese car, the fact that I'm back here at all and my legs aren't sardined in between the B pillar and the seat is a very good sign. So these are actually pretty decent back seats. Again, built off that RAV4 Corolla Prius Caldina platform, and so those traits carry through here. We don't get a center console. That's a noticeably cheaper part of the back seat. We do get a light up here, very cool. But overall, again, it's a pretty manageable back seat. I fit back here. I would be comfortable back here riding across the state or riding across the country. I don't get crazy amenities, but you don't necessarily need that. You know, the WiLL, as crazy and weird as this car is, was still affordable or in the realm of affordability. And so, you know, you're not going to get crazy massage seats and champagne coolers and things like that. It's a Toyota at the end of the day. Let's not lose track of that. Let's hop into the very back. We'll take a quick look at the trunk and cargo space, and then we'll talk about the looks. All right, I have to say, just getting out here, it's very Renault. This is giving like very French. Anyway, we have a handle in here, and it is a hatchback. It says WiLL VS down here. We also have a light back here. Very nice to see that. And we can pull the floor up. We do get some extra storage down below there. Again, this was actually pretty practical, basically a hatchback station wagon Corolla. It does have an odder shape, and so that does cut down on the usability of it a little bit. A Corolla will kind of have like a bubble tailgate and a little bit bigger of an opening, so you could fit, you know, one more box of goodies or something in there. So it's not this like crazy downfall of practicality, but for that style, you do see it's like sort of pointed here, you know, kind of going like that. You do lose a tiny bit of space, but again, I think that's a very small trade-off for the cool car that you get. So there you go, that is the rear cargo space of the WiLL VS from Toyota. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and this is by far the most polarizing part of the car, and honestly the most interesting part of the car, because it doesn't look like nearly anything else on the road, or even in Toyota's lineup. It is hard for me to believe that this even is a Toyota product, and yet it is. Look at these other 2001 Toyotas that I've reviewed, or at least like 99 to like 02 era Toyotas that I've reviewed. They're normally pretty reserved in terms of styling, very functional. You know, your neighbors had them, your parents had them, your daughter has one, you know, that sort of thing. And then you look at this, and it almost looks like a dubstep version of a Toyota. And it's named the WiLL, and you notice on the front, there's no Toyota badge, it just says WiLL. As if this car wasn't built by Toyota, it was crafted by a 10-year-old boy who loved to play with action figures and smoke bombs. Yeah, that's WiLL. He built his own little funky car over there. That's what this car looks like, and it's just such a step outside of the normal realm that Toyota operates in. Again, like I mentioned, they're very reserved, they're very straightforward, they're very suit and tie. This is very odd. It's odd that they did this. And I do want to note, I have not reviewed an earlier generation Toyota WiLL, but you might recognize that car more because it had even wackier styling. It had this weird sort of bustle back window and old school like Citroen 2CV kind of styling to it. This is now that next generation, and they kept the odd styling, albeit they changed it quite a bit. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think finally driving a Toyota WiLL? Well, like I said, the whole experience driving it, fine, whatever. Operationally, it works. You know, it is cool to be driving a JDM car that is a little bit newer. We're starting to see that newer stuff. But honestly, the main point is that this is just kind of the black sheep of the Toyota family. It's just so unlike anything else that they were doing. And it's because the Toyota Corolla was so incredibly popular and still maintains that popularity here today. Because of that, they had the freedom to sort of try these other things and capture an audience that they find the Corolla too boring. But now, the Toyota WiLL VS, whoa. Now that is something interesting. This is a conversation starter. When you roll up to Lawson's, people are gonna ask what it is. And again, it has that reliable engine, good transmission, the good Toyota guts that make it reliable and dependable, but now it's funky and different. And so that's where this car really operates, and it's just such an off step. It's like when Post Malone started doing country music. You go, oh, that's odd, and then it's actually still pretty good. So you're like, oh, okay, it's different than what I'm used to. That's not always a bad thing. Getting out of your comfort zone is where cool and interesting new experiences happen. And so this was Toyota stepping out of their comfort zone, and I think they created something cool, unique, and interesting. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to the import guys here in Northern Washington for letting me borrow their Toyota WiLL. They've been absolutely wonderful. I've reviewed so many cars from them in the past. They are great. Please go check out their inventory found in the link down below. You won't regret it. And if you like JDM stuff, they have quite the candy store for you to sift through. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.